Five Nights at Freddy's 5. Now, I know that idea sounds crazy. The Mimic AI is inside of Mendo. Let's go over the similarities. Something big between the Mimic and Mendo both are their eye color, namely. But not only that, they both have very elongated arms when compared to their legs and as opposed to their torso and other Endo brethren. The Mimic itself is obviously strangely built and full of pistons and other shape-changing sort of components, so it can fit into more suits than just the one, or none, I guess, in its case. Mendo is in a similar vein, except in its more refined and polished look, but it has a sort of pistony and still looks like it could change its arm shape and length by extension if it needed to, but we haven't ever seen that since we've only ever seen Mendo once. The Mimic itself is a mimic, surprisingly. It was made to be a friend of sorts to some kid by this guy named Edwin. The kid eventually died, and Edwin took that out on the Mimic, which he then beat violently. The Mimic didn't like that very much, and mimicked exactly what he did to the Mimic, but on him, and killed him. Shocker. We only ever see Mendo once, and that is in FNaF World when they sell us varying degrees and strengths of endoskeletons to upgrade your character and their health/armor. They don't do much other than rob you of everything you own and potentially help you. They don't have any dialogue, no lines, nothing. So, basically the equivalent of what the Mimic has in-game. Same vein. So, this originally started as a joke of, haha, the funny Mimic is here from the beginning, but it eventually wandered into, wait a minute, the Mimic was here from the beginning, as we know from the new game coming out whenever, The Secret of the Mimic. But I have slight reason to believe that the Mimic was bought by Fazbear Entertainment way sooner than Security Breach, and in fact, probably even before FNaF 2, or whenever Five Nights at Freddy's 2 takes place, regardless. It all lines up with how money-hungry and just downright cheap Fazbear Entertainment is as a whole, wanting to cut any corners possible when it comes to interacting with humans any more than they have to do with killer robots. So, let's jump back to the story and assume after the Mimic has killed Edwin, that it goes on to kill more people as it does in the story or epilogues. I forgot which it is. I don't fully remember, which is why this theory might be botched. It's like 3 a.m. right now, and I'm weary. But I believe in this 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that this is absolutely true from what I know currently. So let's get into that. Sometime after all the murders, the Mimic is bought by Fazbear Entertainment, supposedly after it's decommissioned somewhat, and in a non-murderous state. But from everything I've seen, it shows that Fazbear Entertainment did that a lot later than sooner, which doesn't really seem right to me considering how early it had shown and supposed to be shown in Secret of the Mimic. It just doesn't check out with me. So, I was thinking of what role the Mimic could have played had it been adopted since the very beginning in Fazbear Entertainment. And regarding that, I think it was used to replace human workers. Mendo itself, we don't know much about. We know it can work on and sell armors, platings, and upgrades of sorts to other animatronics to keep them reinforced and strong for, I don't know, battle or whatever. But maybe that's not supposed to be taken in a literal sense when it comes to this. For the sake of this totally logical and sound theory, Mendo could very well be a prototype of the Mimic AI we see in Security Breach. I don't mean the Mimic AI as in the Mimic, the one who imitates Gregory in Ruin. I mean the Mimic AI as the one we see trying to replicate William Afton. Or the one we see in Help Wanted 2, when we trained the mimics by doing that little minigame with the matching cards. When I say prototype of mimic, I don't mean prototype of the original mimic. The original mimic is the original mimic, not the mimic that is William Afton or Burntrap. I mean, Mendo is the prototype of Fazbear Entertainment's version of the Mimic AI. Its original set to train it and, try to use it to replace its employees. Because what good is an employee that you need to pay and can't work 24/7 when you're a corporate that's looking to do nothing but grow? So, to break it down, I guess, in the most basic of way, the Mimic AI is used inside of Mendo as means to replace and weed out electricians, repairmen, and all that sort of thing they have for the Fazbear Entertainment to stop using humans and effectively pay less people in the end. The reason I say that Mendo is a prototype of everything, well, obviously because we don't actively see Mendo doing any of this, is also because I think their timeline-wise, they would have been made in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, not 1, despite their clear bodily inspiration. Mendo was the original, quote-unquote, FNaF 1 Endo, which is why the design is so heavily there. It's because they're the prototype of that. The FNaF 1 endoskeleton, I mean. This also could explain why Mendo is blue and what it's for in the first place. Oftentimes, blue is shown as a color of authority, especially when it comes to police officers. Security officers, especially, are usually seen in blue, often in medias, and obviously in real life too. It's not just a fictional thing. Another bit of it is that it also has a yellow accent on its chest, almost as if to resemble a badge or sorts to signify authority, which obviously is yellow, as we know it is, as we know security badges and other sorts of badges of authorization are in Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Post-editing me here, I just want to clear up that Mendo's chest is in fact green and not yellow, but I didn't realize it while recording this originally, so I'm just righting my wrong here, and that point is irrelevant, but everything else still stands. And to add on further to that, there is a little antenna on top of Mendo, which is also yellow, 1, and 2, very, very closely resembles the same little antenna on top of the Mimic ball in Five Nights at Freddy's world. Being a bot specifically made for mechanical purposes and to, carry around heavy work would also explain its elongated arms and larger hands as a whole. Especially when it has to do with moving around animatronics that are multiple hundreds of pounds at once, too. So to put it shortly again, Mendo was trained by a repairman or engineer/security guard to help and replace, I guess, their own job when it comes to it, by Fazbear Entertainment as to pay less people in the end. Because, that's just how greedy corporate business goes. Now, there's a step further we could take this. If we do go off of the example that not only is Mendo the prototype of the endos we see in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, that also means that every animatronic past that point has the Mimic AI software in them to some extent. But yeah, this is my first kind of video like this. It's more just speculation and based on a kind of assumption and a series of coincidences, and also probably due to being awake at, 3:40 a.m. that might help a bit with it. But otherwise, I honestly think it's a kind of sound theory and gives Mendo more of a use than just a one-off character that means nothing but a FNaF world appearance. So, I'd love to hear thoughts and other opinions and comments if this ever gets any views or whatever anyway. But, that's all. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Goodbye.